Congratulations, Mr. Trump, on winning the presidency, as well as Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy and many others that are patriots working together to make this happen, because we can't do this by ourselves. We're all working together to make a better world. But Mr. Trump, you must have won by a landslide, because the amount of cheating that happened in the previous election, with 81 million votes for Joe Biden and nothing remotely close to that years prior, is laughable at best. Clearly, there was some type of manipulation going on, and even with all that manipulation, you still won. Which brings me to another point, because our social media platforms had us convinced that it was going to be a close call for Kamala Harris to beat you. My social media platform had me thinking and worried that you might actually lose, which now we see is completely ridiculous. But social media platforms have been manipulating our society and have been altering our free speech. It's been painting a picture that is a lie, that is manipulating the masses, which is what our First Amendment right was written for. It was intended to stop mass manipulation from ever happening. This brings me to a very important discussion. Our free speech is under fire. When our founding fathers created the Constitution, they did not have it in mind that anything like the internet could ever exist. They did not have the perspective that a private space could become as popular, if not more, than a public space. So they were not worried about large platform individual spaces becoming mass manipulation systems like they are today through the internet and our media. Which is why we need some constitutional reform in regards to the internet and free speech. In fact, I propose that you make a new branch of government called Free Speech and Fairness that focuses solely on the intent of free speech and writes laws to protect the individual persons and disable things like censorship and make sure that fairness and free speech are being kept among our world today. The department would ensure that the intent of the First Amendment right was upheld. The Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, these platforms today are so large that they need to abide by our constitutional rights of free speech. In fact, I would go so far as to say that any platform with over 10,000 users needs to abide by the constitutional rights of free speech. Now, users under that platform can have the freedom to delete and do whatever they wish, but the platform itself should not be manipulating or censoring certain users' content. In fact, there's a few categories that I would like to discuss in regards to free speech and fairness. Number one, censorship. There's many things in censorship that are overstepping their bounds of what they are intended to do. The only content that should be censored is pornographic and child sexual related content, as well as self-harm. But death and dying content, I'm not even sure death and dying should be censored, because we all bleed and we all die. And in fact, there was a video I posted with the photo of you after being shot with blood on your face that got censored because of the blood on the side of your face. This is a public event. How on earth is my content getting censored because of a little bit of blood on your face? This is absurd. The only reason why social media platforms want to censor blood and death is because they want the shock value of when you actually experience it to still hit you. They don't want you to think about death, because when you think about death, you think about life, you think about God, you think about your existence, and it makes you contemplate your reality and if you are doing good or bad things. Seeing death isn't necessarily a terrible thing. It wakes you up to reality. And social media platforms don't want that there because they want you to be stuck in their rat race wheel that they keep turning. So I believe that even blood and death videos may not even be a part of that censoring category. And if they are, maybe it's simply a checkbox. And those that do not want to see it can check a box saying, I don't want to see content like that, censor it for me. And it can be up to the users to decide what they want to see or not, as well as sexually explicit content. That can also be a checkbox that users can decide whether they want that content to be visible or not. And people posting that content can check a box saying it is sexually explicit. But Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they do not need to be censoring these types of content. They can offer a service that allows users to choose if they want this type of content censored. Now, these social media platforms may make the argument that they don't want that on their platform because they don't want to be sued. Well, certain laws need to be rewritten and certain amnesty given to these social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, because it is absurd that anybody could post something on Facebook and Facebook be held responsible for not altering the content or deleting the content. That is absurd, and that needs to be taken away entirely. And amnesty should be given to these social media platforms that are being treated as public spaces. Political content should absolutely not be in a category that even has an option to be censored. People speaking their free voices and free thoughts is not something we want everybody unable to listen to. This creates a society of ignorant fools, which have been running around in our society for far too long. Right now, Instagram has a political censorship category. This is ridiculous, and it should be illegal. These social media platforms force deleting content should also be illegal. Unless it is sexually explicit, child-related content, there should be nothing that these social media platforms delete that I, as a user, posts. I personally have had content removed because I talked about things that were conservative in value against this liberal social media oligarchy, or I have talked about things relating to the CIA that they didn't seem to want people to know about, and I have had my content removed. Another big problem in social media stuff that I would like to address is shadow banning. Shadow banning should be illegal. This is where users are blocked and they do not know they're being blocked, and their content is limited in reach and they do not even know it. This goes right along with another thing called viral gatekeeping, which is what many social media platforms do today. On TikTok, my content, same content, exploded and would go mega viral. But on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms, my content was disabled from going viral because of the viral gatekeeping systems in place that check your content as it begins to grow. This type of stuff should be illegal. And since TikTok's ban, they forced their content management system to be handled by Oracle, which happens to be owned by a CIA operative. And sure enough, my content got removed, and now there's virality gatekeeping happening on my content that's disabling my content from going viral since Oracle took over TikTok. Another thing that needs to be removed is fact checking. Who are the people that are determining what is true and what is false? It's clearly not off facts, and if anybody has an opposing view, the fact checkers have the right to remove the content or put a warning on it. This should be illegal. This disables alternative ideas and unique thoughts and prospects and ideas of coming out of our society. This disables free speech. This disables free thought. Fact-checking is wicked and should be completely made illegal. Right now, you can watch a controversial video on Instagram, and the comments may completely agree with you and be like, wow, this content's amazing, it's awesome, it's so good, blah, blah, blah. And another person on their phone will watch the same video, and the comments will completely agree with their political perspective and be like, this video is terrible, I can't believe this is happening, blah, blah, blah. This type of comment manipulation is wicked and evil. It promotes racism, division, hate, anger. This is evil, and it's creating a huger divide in our society today. This should be illegal for comment systems to do this type of comment manipulation. Comments are intended to give society the perspective of the consensus of reality of what people think. However, we are limiting people's voices by manipulating the comments. This is against free speech. This is against the intent of what free speech is actually about. And it should be made illegal. Censorship, deleting posts, comment manipulation, fact-checking, shadow banning, virality gatekeeping, and political censorship. All of these things should be reevaluated and deemed illegal under the understanding that they violate free speech. And we need a department of fairness and free speech set up, because there are other topics emerging out of our society today that are also altering our perspective of fairness and free speech, like AI manipulation right now. I could make a song talking about drug use, but I could not make a song with the word Trump in it through AI. I could make a photo of people on drugs, but I cannot make a photo of somebody with Trump in it. AI manipulation is very dangerous because it gives society the perspective of our understanding consensus of reality and group thinking and thought, but it is being completely manipulated right now. We need to get a grasp on this AI thing now before it is far too late, because it's already well ahead with manipulation. Right now, AI system people, developers of AI systems, need to be posting publicly the type of content that they are intentionally manipulating and moving under a free speech and fairness clause or something posted, so that we all as individuals know, oh, they removed anything related to Trump on this platform, and we can decide whether we want to use it or not. But it needs to be made very well known to our society if we continue to allow this type of manipulation, if at all. And these are topics that we need to discuss in unity. When AI first came out, you could ask it questions about conspiratorial topics, and it would give you the facts that led to the understanding of why conspiracies exist. But now, conspiracies on AI systems, now AI conspiracies are heavily altered and manipulated to not speak the truth about these subjects. There needs to be some type of regulation with AI manipulation so that they do not infringe on fairness and free speech. With AI, I could write a poem about Joe Biden, but I couldn't write a poem about Donald Trump. This is a huge problem, and this needs to be addressed and fixed ASAP before it gets out of hand. And another realm on which this fairness and free speech is being monitored and altered is at our school levels. And we need a school reform. I propose that we have a voucher system that gives children a voucher for whatever school they choose to go to, whether it be a public school, a charter school, a private school, or even a homeschool system. That money should be allocated to the schools that are deserving of it. And if a school teaches this transgender, terrible ideology, parents should be able to take their child out of that school, and that rest of the remaining voucher money should go to whatever other school system they put their child in. A voucher system for school will give us back freedom of choice for our individual students, so we don't get children being educated into this liberal agenda perspective of distortion and perversion, which is happening in the world today. This needs to happen now. Voucher school system reform needs to take place to ensure fairness and free speech. And lastly, voter integrity. Obviously, you won by some miracle of a landslide, but we need to make sure that the voting system is publicly posted and with machines that are not connected to the internet or that are easily hackable or manipulated. We need to make sure that these things, these systems of voting, are posted live also, and that it is a very transparent system, so we know the booths and we know the people counting and their listed information. All the stuff goes up there. We need to have people that are from both parties in the same voting booth always. We need to have at least people from two different parties counting every vote. We need a system, a better system for voting integrity, because right now, voting manipulation is the biggest problem in other countries, and it's clearly a pretty big problem here. So these things need to be addressed before you leave office in the next 4 years, so that we have fairness and free speech promised to us for the rest of society. And if we fix these things, I don't think we will have a single problem voting in the right president from this day forward. If you could fix this stuff now, you would save America and save the world from the tyranny that is trying to take over. If you need somebody on your team, I'm an inventor, product developer, marketer, content creator. I make Christian content online, and I volunteer myself to be a part of this team to make ensure that free speech and fairness is maintained. Thank you, and God bless the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and God bless America, and God bless the world.